Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Iwanora Airport debate, let me say, will not go. It will not stop. It cannot stop because we are convinced on this side of the House that it's the wrong way to go. Mr. Speaker, we are convinced by evidence. Mr. Speaker, it's surprising how the Prime Minister says things that he knows are not true. For the member for Castries Southeast, I will not get involved in what he says. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister says that the concessionaire who would build the airport, if the airport had failed, it would be the responsibility of the people of St. Lucia. Mr. Speaker, the concessionaire contract requires the private investor to post a completion bond to compensate the government of St. Lucia for delays or violations of performance requirements. That is what the PPP agreement said, that they would set up a performance bond. The performance bond means that if there were any delays, if there were any cost overruns, the concessionaire would pay, there would be no responsibility on the government of St. Lucia. Mr. Speaker, the agreement, the Prime Minister says that there was nothing, when he came, there was nothing in terms of the airport. And the member for Castries office says that SLASPA would have no money because only what they'd get money from would be from because the concessionaire would take all the money. Here's what the agreement says. The concessionaire will collect and remit monthly to SLASPA.
Yes. The member is quoting from a document. Can it be made a document of the House?
These are my notes, no document, that's my notes.
Honorable Leader of the Opposition. Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the member is quoting from a document as an official document of the House. Okay. Mr. Speaker, I was saying that if the member is quoting from a document to say that to refute a point made by the Prime Minister, he has to make that a document of the House, that we can see that it's an official document and not a make-up document that the member is using. So to say that's his notes and to come and read a statement to say that's part of an agreement. So, Mr. Speaker, if he cannot make it a document of the House, he has to withdraw that statement and that must be removed from the record.
Honorable members, I'm not going there. But Leader of the Opposition, that's why I'm coming to you. what is presently before the House is the value added tax resolution of Parliament to approve a draft value added tax amendment of Schedule 3 order. That is what is currently before me. I was giving you some space because I will not just simply stop any member. I am giving all honorable members, this is what is before the House right now, the value added tax, a resolution of Parliament. That is what's before the House. I give you some leeway. I try not to interfere. Please note, I'm going to allow you to continue, but take note what section 45(3) of our standing orders. Yes, so all I'm saying to you, take note of that section, okay? I am not, so navigate whatever you're going to say, but take note of this section. This is, although we're in the same session, although it appears we're touching on the same topic, but remember, it's a different motion before the House. Continue, Honorable Goods.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I respect your ruling, but we're speaking about Hiwanora International Airport. We're speaking about VAT on goods and services, and we're speaking about the waiving VAT for the purchase of goods for the Hiwanora International Airport and services at the Hiwanora International Airport. So what I was saying, in terms of the Hiwanora International Airport, it was stated that SLASPA, the entity that we are guaranteeing the loan for, would have no income because
we have guaranteed
the loan.
It's past tense. It's past tense.
We have guaranteed the loan for, would have no income, and I'm making it, and I'm saying to this honorable House, Mr. Speaker, that is not true, because SLASPA would have all passenger security charges, navigation and communication charges. SLASPA would, and it further says that the government at will, these two charges, the government at will could increase it or decrease it at will. That had absolutely nothing to do with the concessionary agreement. Absolutely nothing. It had nothing to do with the concessionary agreement. So I just want to make a point that it is wrong to say that the only income that SLASPA would have would be from the airport development.
Mr. Speaker,
tax. Mr. Speaker, what is he writing?
Yes, Mr. Prime Minister, I expect you to say you're standing on the point of order.
What point of order?
He's misleading the House.
On what point of order?
Okay? He's misleading the House in that when the member makes...
Honorable, just hold on. If it's a point of order, you sit immediately.
Mr. Speaker, I said
No. If he says he's standing on a point of order, if he says he's standing on a point of order, you sit immediately and allow him to so explain.
Mr. Speaker, members on this side made reference to the $25 that was currently being collected by SLASPA in order to pay for SLASPA's operations. That money was going to be included in the $60 or whatever amount that they were going to be given. The amounts that the member from Castries East are referring to are like $2 or $3. These are standard charges for navigational fees. This is not going to in any way support the operations of SLASPA. If you take away the $25 currently that SLASPA is earning,
Continue, Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your guidance on 45.3. Mr. Speaker, I was ensuring that my remarks dealt with the value-added tax for Hiwanoro International Airport and for the goods that will be purchased by the loan that we have approved for SLASPA for the Hiwanoro International Airport. And I was making the point, Mr. Speaker, that the Hiwanoro International Airport in the model, in the PPP model, if the value-added tax would have to be waived, it would have been waived, Mr. Speaker, based on the fact that in 2016, May 2016, the arrangement for the construction of Hiwanoro Airport for a PPP region would have been completed in May 2016. If things had gone as were planned, it would have been completed, Mr. Speaker. So I was just making a point that to say there was nothing in place is not really true, because my information, Mr. Speaker, says that there were three pre-qualified investors for the Hiwanoro airports. Vinci, a consortium of Vinci Airports, Cidico, and ASU High Star. These three international airport contractors had sent in bids for the construction of Hiwanoro International Airport. And then ASU dropped out, and Vinci and Cidico were the two concessionaires allowed. And it would have been for these two concessionaires would have to waive the value-added tax. And Mr. Speaker, SLASPA completed 3 rounds of negotiations with Vinci and Cidico. And the draft concession agreement was completed between December 2015 and December 2016. And all that was left to happen was all the questions had been answered, and all that was left to happen was to make, by international procurement and tendering process, to choose either between ASUR or Cidico. So to make the point that we were nowhere in the process is not accurate. It's not accurate because at the point, in June 2016, we had reached a point where Cidico and ASUR were the two concessionaires that were left to make a choice between them. And the reason why that wasn't done because of the international tendering process and international procurement process that had to take place. I said Cidico and Vinci. Vinci and Cidico, ASUR dropped out. Vinci and Cidico, thank you. Vinci and Cidico were the two last international firms that were involved. So to say that we were nowhere is not accurate. So in waiving the value-added tax, Mr. Speaker, we would have had to consider for these two concessionaires in the same manner. We had to consider, and these discussions were actually taking place. So to get up and say that we were nowhere and that never happened is not accurate, because the information is clear that we had reached a point where the agreement would have been signed and work would have begun on the airport by May 2017. And that information is available for everyone to see. So, Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to clear some of the misconceptions, Mr. Speaker, that were raised, because we have to discuss it, because we're talking about waiving the value-added tax. We have to discuss it, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, there are many things that have been said. In the $175 million, is there any provision for maintenance? Is the $175 million at the airport that you're going to waive the value-added tax for? Do you have any arrangement for the maintenance of the airport? Is $175 million only for construction or for construction and maintenance? I know the 40-year plan, the investment program, would have been $118 million in new capital investments and $90 million in maintenance investment. In the $175,000 that we're borrowing, that you want to waive value-added tax for, is that all construction or is that construction and maintenance? What does that entail? We need to ask these questions because in the agreement that was rejected, there was a component of $90 million for maintenance. Mr. Speaker, so these are the points. So when we try these flashing mirrors and try to just blow people away and call people all kind of names, Mr. Speaker, we have to answer the basic questions, and answer them in a truthful manner. That was what was in the concessionary agreement, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, the concessionary agreements that they are speaking about, they have it. You made the point that make a document of the House. If what you say, make the concession agreement, you say that did not exist, make it a document of the House. You make a point $60, $40, $80, $90. If there was no concessionary agreement, how do you know that it will be $60? How would you know? How do you know that we promised them $60 if there's no concession agreement? How do you know that if there was no concessionary agreement? I'm putting to you that there was a concessionary agreement. And the concessionary agreement was between two firms, Vinci and Silico. And you can jump high, you can jump low. That agreement was there, and you choose for your own purposes to go your way. And we are saying that all the issues relating to the departure tax and ADP, are you the only? There is a concession agreement. There was a concessionary agreement that was being discussed because questions were being asked from the two, but you said there was nothing. You said there was nothing. You said there was nothing. That's what you said. So the point I'm making, Mr. Speaker, is that this government chose to go their way. But do not pretend as if PPPs are things that are outlandish things and they're things that only madmen would do. That is the point. Because here now, we are being asked to waive value-added tax again, another concession. But it is a PPP arrangement is an arrangement that is plausible and that has worked before. It has worked before. If you choose for your own reasons to do what you want, but do not come and rubbish it and pretend as if there was nothing and make all kind of excuses. PPP arrangements have existed. They continue to exist. And as we speak today, several airports in the world, including major airports in London, in England, have been operated by PPP arrangements. And as we speak, there are more than 200 airports that have been constructed or run by PPP arrangements. So do not come and rubbish PPP arrangements as if you are the brightest person in the world and multiply 35 or 65 by arrivals and say that is your profit and you lose millions of dollars, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, all I want to say is that the government, for its own reasons, has chosen its path. We believe on this side that the path the government has chosen is not a correct path. We've made arguments based on evidence that that path that the government has chosen will lead to issues, problems. We have issues with it, we continue to have issues with it. And what we're saying is that we think the best arrangement, first and foremost at this time, based on the evidence of what happened in other countries, The best arrangement would be for government not to take that debt burden, not to take that risk, and not to inflict on the future of St. Lucia a debt that is fraught with uncertainty. Because there is no guarantee that what the government is saying will happen, because evidence has shown that construction of airports has been difficulty over difficulty, problems over problems, because of the highly technical nature of airports. And finally, Mr. Speaker, if the government had allowed the World Bank that they are boasting about, the World Bank, the IFC, asked the government to manage the process for them. If it's transparent and open, let the IFC manage the process for you, because you have to pay to manage it. You are paying to manage it. So allow people who have experience in airport construction. You want to go your way, you want to borrow money from Taiwanese, you want to crowd out the local banks. No problem with that. But allow somebody with experience to manage it for you. Why are you avoiding the IFC management? Why are you avoiding tendering? And why you are coming to this honorable house and just make statements over statements, and when the evidence that you have proves that the statements are incorrect? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.